Hello there, you're watching The Pulse on the JoyNews channel. This afternoon, constituents of Member of Parliament for North Tong, Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa, mass up at the forecourts of the court complex today, where he faced a contempt charge over the case of Reverend Kusi Boateng. That matter was heard in court today. We'll bring you details, plus get more from our reporter, court correspondent, Joseph Akable, who was there on day one of proceedings. Also, don't forget that local government deputy minister now being nominated for the ministerial role, Obi Amwa, has been speaking and appearing before Parliament's Appointments Committee. Day two of that vetting continues in Parliament. What some of the details will bring you fallout. Plus, hear from our parliamentary correspondent in, of course, what next is going to happen in the House. We'll get you some updates shortly. And today as well, we're bringing you highlights of some of the appointees that have appeared before the Appointments Committee of Parliament. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities, Digni, Lu, Affordable, Safe Sanitation. Don't forget that we're on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. This is The Pulse. We're back with the details shortly. Please stay with us. This afternoon, the opposition National Democratic Congress says it stands firmly behind its Member of Parliament, Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa, who is facing contempt charges in court. Party supporters and a team of traditional authorities on Tuesday morning pitched camp at the Law Court complex where the case filed by Reverend Kusi Boateng was heard for the first time. Court correspondent Joseph Akable now reports.
The Secretary to the National Cathedral Board of Trustees, Reverend Kusi Boateng, says the MP should be punished for contempt. The MP's constituents, however, disagree.
Allege that our boss, our MP, the leader of North Tong, which is the MP, is in the court. So the citizens felt that they are supposed to be here to support him. Whatever is going to happen, and they are here to support him.
I mean, but so far, do you have an understanding of what exactly the issues are here? I mean, because to come to the conclusion that you need to come here and support me, you must have some appreciation of what is going on.
Alleged one, Kusi Boateng made an allegations of true identity. That's what we know so far. So we are here to find out what is allegation that she's making, whether it's true or not. But we are here as a citizen because we know the MP, what is the MP is capable to do. Don't criticize me about what I'm doing, but try also to do something so that you also can get a name, a proper name. So if maybe simply means that what Okujeto is doing, that's the name is all over, that we all know that everywhere you reach, the name is all over, that you want to destroy his name, you want to destroy his image. That's the meaning of the song.
When you pay attention to the things happening, it is important that the likes of Honorable Samuel Okujeto-Ablakwa must be celebrated for exposing the lies and the rotten system that we are in. Look at the case before the court, very trivial, such that a man of God or a supposed man of God who on different occasions has used different names, different dates of birth, and different personal data or biodata, such a person will be the one seeking to gag a member of parliament from doing his work. That in 2016 he has a different voter's ID card with different date of birth. 2020, different age, different date of birth. On numerous occasions, his family has celebrated him for different dates of birth. This is the kind of system that we are, and it's important for us to expose it.
The case was heard for the first time on Tuesday. The court asked that a member of parliament be served properly with the processes, even though he was present in court. The case was therefore adjourned indefinitely. Key party figures, including General Secretary Fifi Kwete, Deputy Minority Leader Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, say the MP will not be gagged.
The NDC as a party, from the national through the region, through Ketu, through North Town, is fully behind our comrade, our brother, Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa. To say that the party is not deterred at all, that there's nothing that the forces that are against the truth can do to discourage him or to make him feel that what he's doing is not the right cause. We believe the cause he's fighting is the cause of truth, the cause of transparency, and there's nothing that can be done to discourage him. And the party stands fully, 100% behind him. And that's why we are here to show exactly that.
Our distinguished Honorable Member of Parliament, Okujeto Ablakwa, who has dedicated his life in fighting for the right things done for the country, in fighting for corruption, in ensuring that our constitution is upheld. You should have seen Mr. Adu Jemfi in court, but instead, you know who was in court? The man who was fighting for the right thing for Ghana, Okujeto Ablakwa. And that is why you are all here. That is why you see all the crowd here. The people of Ghana are committed and support all the right things he's fighting for. The minority in parliament stands strongly behind him. And we want to make it clear. Today we went to court, it was obvious that the people who took us to court are running away from their own application. And this is really a victory for the people of Ghana. What it is that we are very clear in our mind. We are going to stand by Okujeto and fight for the right thing for the people of Ghana.
Sort of mood, they are pouring the powder on him. You can see him there, they are pouring the powder on him and cheering him on. A number of them, earlier when we spoke to them, they said they had simply come to support him. A number of them cheering him on.
And excerpts of what transpired in court actually today, and of course the party in the region, I mean the NDC in the Volta region, is beginning to wade into the matter, asking the court to be circumspect on this case. As to why they're putting out that statement, we'll find out shortly from James Gunu, who happens to be the regional secretary for the party. But first, I want to get more from our court correspondent, Joseph Akable, who's joining me now via Zoom. And Joe, it must have been a very tiring day in court today, having to see supporters of not just the opposition NDC, but even traditional rulers appear in court today. Give us some updates on what transpired today.
It's a bit of a surprise. I mean, we had picked information that these individuals, that is some members of the party's leadership, and some individuals belonging to the traditional authority in North Town, because you recall, just a couple of days back, there was a statement that was issued by the traditional authority indicating that they were unhappy about what they believed was an attempt to gag the member of parliament. And so, yes, there was the sense of support for the member of parliament, but the manner we saw it play out when we got to the law court complex opposite the road, I mean, the main entrance, you had the members of the traditional authority clad in the red over there, some of them barefooted, others from, I mean, all the way coming from the constituency, at least what they told us, pitching camp there. Then when you enter the court premises itself, inside the courtroom where the case was heard, it was almost impossible for an individual to find an empty seat in the courtroom. So that was the extent of support that was shown to the member of parliament. In terms of his own party leadership in parliament, we know that his deputy minority leader, Emmanuel Amakufi-Boa, was present in court leading the minority group. We know that at the party national level, we know that Afifi Fiabi-Kwete was there. And in that as clip that you played as part of the report you played earlier, you heard Fifi Kwete say that he enjoys the support of members of the party at all levels. He says from North Town to Keta to every level, they believe that this is what he's doing. And I mean, the latter part of the report, you saw the point of the powder. I mean, the question that...
Yeah, I was just about to go there to find out what exactly was happening, because the courts won't tolerate, say, a protest within the precincts of the court complex. So how did these women clad in red make it to the courts today?
I mean, they didn't come into the court premises itself. They were stationed opposite the law court complex. In terms of what the court will permit and not permit, at least they didn't get access to the court premises itself because there were security personnel available, a lot of policemen who were regulating the activities over there. So they were, had determined that, okay, this is where the limits that you can be at, you can't go beyond this level. All those things had been well demarcated. As to whether going forward, some changes were made, especially because of what happened at the latter part of proceedings, after proceedings, when the powder was being poured and virtually the road in front of the law court complex, vehicles could not move along that road for at least about 2 or 3 minutes till the member of parliament got into his vehicle and left the premises before the road eased up a bit. And so that was a bit of it there. In terms of the case itself, and that is the interesting aspect of this whole proceedings.
Right.
A lot of people are thinking that a major thing has happened today by all of the court processes. The scenes that we saw at the end of the proceedings may suggest to some that there had been a ruling or of some sorts. But their victory in their minds and what they told us was about the fact that the individual who had brought them to court, they came, the person says that the MP should be punished for defying the court's orders by way of how he had reacted to the process that was served on him. Now they've come and they say that, okay, it's not served as, but move your application. And the lawyers were saying that, look, we think it's not been served properly, so we don't want you to move the application, let's take a date. Then the lawyers for the MP insist that move the application. Then still the court agrees with the view of Reverend Kusi Boateng's legal team to now adjourn the matter.
And what may be accounting for that sort of bravado, if you want to call it that way, on the part of the MP saying, well, you've not served me properly, but I'm here, let's go on?
As far as from what we understand from the legal team and in terms of the processes that they filed, which we saw, they hold a view that substantively, they don't think that the member of parliament has defamed Reverend Kusi Boateng. So that is for the substantive defamation matter. In terms of this contempt issue, they think that it's a matter that they could offer some explanation. In fact, the suggestion that we obtained from the documents available was to the effect that they did not even know that the individual who was trying to effect service, we're not certain that it was actually a court official trying to effect that service. But those are all matters that they will have to offer explanation to the court, and as to whether that will be satisfactory to the court will be another issue altogether. Okay. But we get a sense from them that they do not see this as an issue that they should be running away from, for which reason they took the view that this is a matter that they could be confronted with immediately.
Blake, just hold on for us, because there are many out there who are wondering what the facts of this matter is, or this case is. We'll break that down shortly. But I also want to welcome the General Secretary, or the Regional Secretary, I should say, of the National Democratic Congress in the Volta Region, James Guno. He was also there in court today. Thank you, sir, for your time here on The Pulse. So we've never seen this before. We've seen that when, of course, many of your rank and file are arrested and perhaps taken to the headquarters of the police service. But this kind of support, massing up and calling on your members to turn up, in court. This is a threat to our democracy, isn't it?
Thank you very much. This is never a threat to our democracy. We were in court believing strongly that this particular case is just to gag our member of parliament, right, who is a pride of North Town and a brand for the Volta region. And I was actually shocked to my bone this morning when we got to court, and it turned out that the member of parliament was not properly served. There was also a revelation by the judge that before he left for weekend, he saw a proof of service on the file or the docket. But this morning, he could not find that proof of service on the member of parliament who happens to be the respondent in this particular case. And he could only see proof of non-service on the file. So the question is that, where is this document that the judge saw and read, according to the judge himself, before going to weekend? who tampered with the docket. This needs to be investigated. Now, when we were in court, the lawyers for the member of parliament indicated that yes, even though he was not properly served, they saw the writ on social media and they requested from the plaintiff's lawyer who provided the writ, the original writ, to the Honorable MP's lawyers. That's Honorable Okujeto Ablakwa. So, based on that, they have prepared themselves to face whatever charges that are leveled against the Honorable Member of Parliament. Then the lawyers for the applicants, the plaintiff, were now pleading with the judge for adjournment of the case. I was surprised that, these lawyers would now be calling on the judge to adjourn the case. And then the judge said that, okay, as it stands now, the respondents have not been served properly. According to the lawyers of the plaintiff, they went to the bailiff, went to Parliament House as required by the law, but they could not get the opportunity to serve the Honorable Member of Parliament. And they made reference to that, but failed to make reference to the fact that the Honorable Member of Parliament was at Metro TV when somebody purported to be a bailiff was there to serve the court document on the Member of Parliament. So the judge later said that, okay, he had to adjourn the case, to give the opportunity to for the proper service on the Member of Parliament before they come to court. So we believe strongly that the Honorable Member of Parliament's revelation that is going on as far as the identity of the plaintiff is concerned, because the plaintiff himself was not in court. He was represented by somebody by name Kelvin Ochre. Now, we again believe that this is an attempt rather to intimidate the Honorable Member of Parliament. That is one of the reasons why we had to mobilize ourselves and show solidarity and comradeship.
Okay, so you're confirming. So you're confirming that for me. You're confirming exactly what I was asking. So you asked your supporters from the Volta region to appear in court today, correct? You're calling it mobilization.
We came individually. Everybody has been monitoring the development. So people from North Town came on their own. The regional executive, the regional chairman was there. The regional youth organizer, regional communication. Most of the regional executives went to court, and then the constituency executives and supporters of the party, upon hearing that the Honorable Member of Parliament is going to court today on these frivolous charges, everybody is angered by this development. The General Secretary of our party was also present in court, so that we send a strong signal to whoever, the long hand that is behind this intimidation and harassment of an innocent child who is fighting for this generation and generations yet unborn. That rather should be seen as a threat to our democracy, and not we citizens who feel that there's something going wrong and that we need to voice out, we need to show our support for the member of parliament.
I mean, what's giving you this? What's giving you this basis?
Properly.
Yes, but what's giving you this basis to believe that there's a longhand, quote unquote, as you're using it? I mean, this is a member of parliament making claims against an individual. The facts aside that he's a reverend minister as well. He's an individual entitled to the benefits, the rights and privileges that are enshrined in the Constitution. And the belief is that Samuel Okudzeto as an MP will simply comply with the court procedures. If it comes out clean, fair enough. Don't you feel that you're sidestepping procedure, you're intimidating the process, in fact, you're gate crashing, if we can use the words?
What is the court procedure here? And what is so revealing and annoying that they will lie, that the member of parliament was served and they forged a document indicating a proof of service on him. And then today in court, it turned out that he was not served. And the judge could confess that the judge actually saw a proof of service on the docket and read through before going on the weekend. But this morning he picked the file and he could not find the proof of service, but rather a proof of non-service on the member of parliament. Who is doing that? Who is doing that through the bailiffs or the court officials? Who? We should be asking this question.
These are questions that, well, I may not be able to provide answers to, but what do you feel must happen as a political party? Because
this is a clear political persecution to intimidate the honorable member of parliament from revealing further, corrupt activities that are associated with this whole cathedral deal.
You've had this perception long enough, because even before the case will be heard, we've seen a statement signed by your good self as the regional secretary of the NDC in the Volta region, asking the courts to be circumspect. You go on to make some other claims. Is it the case that you have some sort of prejudice even before the case will be heard? Why not allow the courts to work? What do you suspect as a political
we
party?
even have prejudice. This development has actually confirmed what we've been saying. The development that I've just mentioned to you actually confirmed, what we indicated earlier, that the whole, suit is about trying to intimidate the honorable member of parliament and make him, put a stop to all the revelations that are associated with this cathedral thing and the identity crisis that is that the Reverend Minister is facing.
Okay, the next steps, of course, this is just part of the processes. He'll be reappearing in court. That's if the right processes are taken through and he gets served through Parliament. Are we going to be seeing this every other day, seeing scores of your party members, rank and file, women, as we've seen, clad in red, appearing before the court all the time?
It will even be more than what we saw this morning, because we still believe that it's a clear attempt of trying to intimidate the honorable member of parliament. And the member of parliament is not fighting for himself, is fighting for this generation, is fighting for generation yet unborn. And if Christ could die and save this world, our forefathers also died or laid down their life to save this country. We are also ready to lay down our life to save our generation and also ensure that the wrongdoing, the corruption, and other things that are going on as far as this cathedral issue and other issues are concerned, we also fight, and we will support the Honorable Member of Parliament for Northton, Honorable Samuel Kujeto Abrakwa, going forward. So this is just the beginning, and it is our hope and prayer that, having tried to truncate the court process and serve the Honorable Member of Parliament through the window or the back door, they come out properly, or better still, drop this case against the Member of Parliament.
You keep using the word intimidation, but where's the evidence, really? Are you not being overprotective?
The evidence is clear that if you are not intimidating the Member of Parliament, you do the right thing at the right time. You understand? Why? I mean, the lawyers were ready. The respondents' lawyers were ready this morning. But the lawyers for the plaintiff, who himself was not in court, were praying to the court for an adjournment. They know what they have.
James Gunu, are you still there with us?
Done. They know that they are not doing the right thing. They know the case. You understand?
Precisely.
So, yes, it is obvious, it is clear that the plaintiff has no case against the respondent, or the applicant had no case against this innocent Member of Parliament. But they are finding every means, every possible means, to make sure that they stop him from, reviewing further corrupt practices. And then issues that he has raised concerning the double identity of
I get the point. Now, James, we need to wrap up, but there's one incident that occurred before the proceedings today, and that went viral on social media. We saw the Honorable MP, Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa, kick off a certain document. We're not sure if he was being served. We're not, because we're just seeing gestures in that video that went viral on social media. As party leadership, have you spoken to Ablakwa if indeed those were the documents, what transpired, and how come an MP of a standing will be kicking away such a document?
In fact, I have not seen that video you are talking about.
Really?
If I see it, I'll be able to comment on it.
You've never seen that video?
I've not seen it. I'm here to see that video you are talking about.
He wasn't kicking any item?
When did it happen? Where?
But you were just telling me earlier that there was an attempt to serve Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa when he was stepping out from a TV studio. I'm sure you know what ensued.
What I said was that the lawyers for Honorable Samuel Okujeto Ablakwa asked the applicant's lawyers, that how come they were able to refer to the attempt by the court to serve the Honorable Member of Parliament in Parliament House through the Speaker, which is the proper thing to do. But they never made mention of an attempt by anybody to serve the Member of Parliament in Metro TV.
So you've never seen the video?
I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well, we'll have to leave our conversation here. It's been a long day for you. As you're indicating, you'll be back in court when proceedings actually start, but we're grateful.
It is actually my prayer that they drop this whole case. Because
that's what you're calling for as a party?
In fact, it is just an attempt to intimidate him and also gag him and make him silence over the, identity issues and also the corrupt practices that actually has to do with the cathedral project.
Mm. Well, we need to leave it here. Thank you, James Guna. I'm grateful that you've spent some time with us here on The Pulse on that case between Reverend Kusi Boateng and North Tone Member of Parliament Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa. Obviously, some shocking details there. He's not watched the video, but we'll still keep our eyes on that case and definitely bring you some updates. But for now, leaders on the African continent have been urged to ensure that they achieve the Sustainable Development Goals on access to safe water and improved sanitation by the year 2030 as estimated. This call is coming on the back of some setbacks realized by stakeholders in this sector who say much more needs to be done. Journalists from some 21 African countries have therefore gathered in the Ivorian capital, Abidjan, to be trained and equipped with relevant information to advocate speedy implementation of targets for the benefits of citizens. The two-day program precedes the 21st African Water Association International Congress and a fecal sludge management conference in the same country. My colleague Hannah Odami is in La Côte d'Ivoire and now reports.
Considering the fact that achieving the Sustainable Development Goals are mostly linked to the availability and access to potable water and proper sanitation, some African countries are speeding up their action plans to ensure they meet the set targets. Stakeholders in the sector have therefore begun comparing notes through peer reviews in a bid to improve on their strategies. This action has roped in journalists to serve as mouthpiece of their fast-paced implementation agenda. According to a sanitation coordinator at AFWA, Dr. Mbaye Mbegware, leaders on the continent must initiate alternatives to their plans, which are not yielding the needed results as expected.
It is important for us to advocate in order to get this mind shift, to allow to these decision makers to know there is an alternative to this collective sanitation that is very expensive in terms of investment, in terms of operation, and to know that it is important to do sanitation differently. Business as usual is not working at all in sanitation. We need to think out of the box to reinvent some new solution, and we cannot do so without a mind shift.
A sanitation management trainer, Valentino Yao, highlighted the need for the proper disposal of waste, which he says has not been taken seriously, though it has a potential to generate revenue for a country as well.
The best way to dispose of the waste, field contamination with chemical fertilizer, and will improve also the field to produce more.
Joey Imbabazi, the New Times publications in Rwanda, shared with JoyNews the importance of the conference for her advocacy.
Now journalists can pick from their information. At least when you have the statistics, you know where to start from. Yes, so now we have the statistics, we know where to improve, we know which region is mostly facing with what, and they've told us about areas or countries that do not use the toilets even when they have them. So all this information we've learned, I believe, is going to make a difference, because now we are going to be knowing exactly what to do that we didn't know.
Organizers are hopeful. The fearful estimate by the WHO and UNICEF that by the year 2030, billions of people around the world will not have access to safe water, sanitation and hygiene services will not materialize if all of these packed action plans are implemented. For JoyNews, I am Hannah Odami.
And now it's day 2 of the vetting of President Akufo-Addo's nominees. We've seen a number of appointees appear before the Appointments Committee in Parliament, including Katie Hammond, who was before the committee. We've also seen the likes of the Minister of State at the Local Government Ministry, Obi Amwa, take his stand, and then Stephen Amwa also did. But what has been the process so far, and what's been the quality this time around of the vetting process? We've seen also some reforms and changes to the Appointments Committee. I want to bring in now Samuel Obeng, who's Executive Director for the Parliamentary Network Africa. Thank you for joining us, Sami. And it's been a very grilling moment for these nominees. Some of them have never appeared before the committee before, I suppose. And so it came with some shocks as well. And also the change in the composition of the Appointments Committee itself. But looking at the process so far, what's your impression of day 2 and i.e. day 1 as well, even when the process is started?
Well, I think that the Appointments Committee has realized that we are not in ordinary times, and very important moments in the life of a country requires that things are not done business as usual. And so we have seen some very interesting approach to the vetting process by the Appointments Committee this time around. That doesn't mean that they've not been doing some of these things in the past, but I have not followed 100% all of the vettings that have been done, but at least the bits and pieces excerpts that I have seen shows that the committee is minded about the fact that Ghanaians will need to take some of these things seriously, because the people of Ghana are actually looking at these things, and it does matter to them. Of course, the composition is it's a matter that needed to happen anyways. Recall that the ranking member and deputy ranking member for the Appointments Committees have traditionally been the minority leader and the minority chief whip. And so considering that you have minority leadership changing, certainly new people occupying those roles will have to take their place on the Appointments Committee. And so that's how come that also happened.
Okay. But then let's talk about even some of the individuals who have appeared. Look at the likes of Katie Hammond, very experienced on the floor of the House. He calls himself the class prefect of the MPs, and yet his colleagues would not even spare him. Do you think that the House is becoming much more divided?
Well, while we were in school, we certainly were not sparing class prefects who sometimes did not behave as class prefects. If you are class prefect, there is a certain way that you're expected to, go about your work. If you do not, certainly you will not be spared the hardness from your colleagues. I really think that members of parliament certainly needed to send that right signal to colleagues that, look, we are one happy people in chamber. We go about our duties in a friendly manner and all of that. But if you are taking very serious, sensitive national positions, like a minister of state, take a minister who is going to handle matters relating to trade and industry, an economy that badly needs transformation in some of these areas. You certainly must not have a vetting that is a walk in the park. And you certainly must not come to the vetting with some of the attitudes that I think he showed, which were, in my opinion, uncalled for. Some of the words that he used, which of course the chairman, for example, had reason to make him withdraw. I think that the whole thing about, for example, Mr. Katie Hammond feeling that because this is a meeting of friends and colleagues, I can get away with everything and anything, was clearly dealt with by the committee to put things in proper perspective. And I was particularly excited about that.
And this unique phenomenon that we're seeing, the opposition party issuing a statement asking its members of parliament not to approve any of such nominees by the president. Have we seen this before? And is it right, first of all, is it permitted within the standing orders of parliament or perhaps our laws to have a political party direct members of the Appointments Committee to reject a nominee?
Blessed, within the last 6 years at least, we have seen many times that this NDC party had, tried, put out communication, whether formally or informally, to their members of parliament on, especially appointments committee, on vetting of various ministerial nominees. You'll recall that we had, many issues in the very first vetting that was held for the set of ministers under this president's regime when he took office in 2001 after the 2020 after the the first elections that brought President Akufo-Addo, in
2016, you mean? Yes.
2016, so the vetting of 2017. Yes. We certainly saw some issues also from the very vetting after he won a second term. We've seen instances of members of the minority caucus threatening to resign from the committee, finger pointing, some statements from party members here and there and all. We've seen some of these things, but I think that whenever these things happen, we are unable to call a spade, and we sometimes want to call it, a big spoon. Members of parliament have been elected to perform a very unique mandate, to represent the people of Ghana and making sure that they make the right decisions for and on behalf of the people of Ghana. Yes, political parties have interest in there because these people stood on their ticket. But I think that it is important that we get to that level where right-thinking members of parliament will make decisions, with the interest of the people that they serve and represent at heart, and not being asked to do some unblock, things. So that we all commended the NPP majority members who asked for the head of Mr. Foriata, for example. That is the same way that if we hear the NDC minority members say that, look, Your Excellency, Mr. President, we expect you to downsize, and for which reason there are certain nominees that we will not approve because we don't see how they add up to, the growth trajectory that we are charting, and we think that these things can be avoided. Yes, we'll welcome those, but I think that to try and put it, and you see, political parties must learn these. Sometimes these populist approach of trying to put things out and saying we are directing our members to do X, Y, and Z does not really send the right signal. And it sometimes, sets up these members of parliament to make them look like a group of people who could not have a mind of their own and cannot think for themselves. But these are hardworking members of parliament who are doing some amazing stuff. I think that in principle, some of us have called for the fact that parliamentarians should stop complaining about the large sizes of the president's government and rather take decisive actions when it is time for vetting. If we think that the president is appointing too many people, do not approve, some of the names that you think that, are not relevant. And these are the right signals that needs to be sent out. I think we can avoid, making parliament and parliamentarians look like a group of, for the want of a better word, stooges that, people can direct and move around outside of parliament. For us to let people realize that these are hardworking individuals who in their work in parliament are right thinking, can make right decisions, can gauge the mood of the people in the country, and that can inform the decisions they make on the floor of parliament.
Okay, Sami, just hold on for me. I want to bring in parliamentary correspondent Gugu Asante, monitoring the very last and some say perhaps the final appointment of President Akufo-Addo. We still have at least a few more months to the next general election, so you never know if you'll be making a new set of appointments. But anyway, Kweku, we're expecting the very last nominee to appear, Herbert Scrapper, correct?
No, the last vetting is expected to be Dr. Mohammed Amin,
okay, right.
who has been appointed as the Minister of State at the Finance Ministry. Just before that vetting of Honorable Stephen Amoah ended, Dr. Tesla Tufosu, the minority leader and ranking member on that committee, said he has a number of questions that he wanted to reserve for the minister. He was not so satisfied with some of the answers that Dr. Stephen Amoah responded to in terms of the economy. You know that Dr. Stephen Amoah had been justifying the current state of the economy. He said that just like the IMF boss said a couple of days ago, Ghana's economy is not struggling because of government's ineptitude or incompetence. because of exogenous factors like the Ukraine war and also the COVID-19 that plagued the country some time back. And so he was putting that blame on those factors. The minority having been so keen on that. A number of questions, Blessed, has run through this vetting process so far. It is the minority's insistence that the president was overpopulating government and that he could do well and manage the economy with far less members in government than there are currently. Indeed, the questions went to Obi Amwa earlier today. It did go to Dr. Stephen Amwa as well. Their response were that, well, that is a question the president will be free to answer, that as far as they are concerned, the president has appointed them in federals of a certain goal and they are ready to help. But if the minority think that the numbers are too much, the president is the one fit to answer that question. Already, the minority has said that none of these nominees is going to receive their support. And just gone by, the majority have addressed the news conference where they have been urging their colleagues on the minority side to cooperate and support them, approve these nominees. They say that this hardline stance that the NDC minority in parliament have taken will not help deepen parliamentary democracy. And so we've heard from the chief whip on the majority side, Frank Fanodon, who said that his colleagues must put aside what the party, their NDC party has been directing them and cooperate. But so far, we haven't gotten an inkling from the minority leader, Dr. Kesela Tuforsen, if they are going to go against that decision by the party. They've already addressed the news conference saying that none of these persons are going to receive their cooperation. So far, some would say that this process has just been a mere formality, as they insist that none of them will go far, especially now that we are waiting for the last person to appear before the committee.
If we have those addresses ready, we'll get that shortly, and of course update our viewers on that as to what the demand of the majority side is now. But how about waiting for the process to finish, at least to see what the minority will do? Is it the case that the majority is running out of time, running out of patience?
Indeed, what we understand, normally when the vetting committee finishes any nominee, normally sit back and make a decision as to whether or not they are going to approve them or not. But because the minority have already gone ahead of time to say that these nominees aren't persons that are going to receive our vote, it means that it's going to be such a tough thing for them to crack. The appointment committee has 26 members, 13 on the majority side, 13 on the minority side. When a first vote is taken, the chairman does not vote. The chairman only has a casting vote. So if there's a vote on any nominee at the committee level, that nominee will lose. So far, any of the 6 nominees will be expected to lose that vote in the committee, because the minority will get 13 votes if they are all present. The majority side will get 12. And then that will mean that a recommendation will be made to the floor not to approve these nominees before a vote will be taken. So it is clearly a cagey matter. What we understand is that there are a lot of back channel conversations happening currently on both sides of the house to try and reach some compromise. But this is some high level stakes, because this is not just the minority who have taken this position. This is their political party that has asked them to take a certain position, to take a certain posture. And so it's a bit difficult for the new minority leadership, who are also set to try and do something to announce their presence. So clearly, the majority side are trying to navigate this. Yesterday, the deputy majority leader, Alexander Penyomakin, addressed media and said that the NDC stance was unconstitutional, had no position in law, and today the majority chief whip has also spoken. So we understand the back channel communications are still undergoing.
Okay, let's listen now to the majority chief whip, and then, okay, we'll get to that shortly. But Samir Obeng, if you're with us, that's the situation in Parliament now, where, of course, the minority leader must be in a very difficult position. He's also serving on this committee, yet his party says, don't approve them.
Well, so I go back to the point that I made, earlier. There must always be justification and reasoning behind, why one cannot be approved or why one can be approved. Our constitution is very clear on what Parliament's role is when, appointments are made by, the president of the land for people to serve as ministers. These ministers must get the prior approval of Parliament, as indicated in our constitution. Quite apart from that, the constitution is also very clear on which groups of people can qualify to be ministers of state. They must either be members of parliament or qualify to be elected as members of parliament. There are certain, things that they shouldn't have done to disqualify them here and there and all of that. And we see that very clearly in Article 78 of our Constitution. So these are the things that, every committee will be looking at. And it is on the basis of these things that a committee can say that, okay, person A is qualified, person B is not qualified, and not on mere political party sentiment. However, we have also maintained that parliamentarians or parliament has a role to play in this whole conversation about downsizing of the government. Whereas Article 78(2) talks about the fact that the president shall appoint such number of ministers of state as may be necessary for the efficient running of the state, Parliament also has a responsibility to ensure that certain things that are needless, certain things that serve as a good oversight on the executive branch will be enforced. And so I would rather want to see a minority that is coming out to say that, look, nominee X, Y, and Z, we do not think that that particular role is necessary now in the face of the current situation we find ourselves in, because that will be a duplication of the role. I had the vetting, for example, of the minister designate to the Minister of State designate to the local government ministry, when he was asked the question, what would be, his role? And, his answer was to the effect that he thinks that his role will be one step below the substantive minister, but he will get to understand his clear, line of duties, going forward, because there's been some of these ministers designate who have been appointed, in the past. These are the things that Parliament should be interrogating to know that exactly what are you going to do as a minister designate when there is a substantive minister, when there are a couple of deputy ministers. Can we use this as an opportunity to downsize, on government so that it sends the right signal? So for me, those are the areas I would rather have the minority look at, rather than saying that our party has directed us that we should do X, Y, and Z, and so we are doing that. And you see, when the minority has the temerity to do some of these things, which would help, and party comes out first to talk about unblock disqualification and blah, 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 it goes to rather take away the shine from the minority members of parliament who will do some hard work, yet it would look as if they only kowtowed to a party directive and they are not people who have minds of their own. And that's not very good.
The whole debate about having too many ministers, the constitutional element comes up because a 60% retention for members of parliament, that's the dictate of the constitution. Is it time that we take a second look at that, try as much as possible to reform what it is that our laws are saying about it?
Well, like I said, 78(2) talks about the fact that His Excellency the President has the power to appoint, such number of ministers of state as may be necessary for the efficient running of the state. And of course, more than half of these must come from Parliament. We've had a certain number of ministers over the years. The question of whether there's been efficient running of the state is a question that still hangs in the balance, whose answer of efficiency is to be taken and what have you. But certainly, we cannot run a country in this time when the right signals will not be sent. I agree with the people who say that, look, it is very likely that, downsizing on a number of ministers may not necessarily, it's not going to overturn or change our economic fortunes, but it sends the right signals. It shows that, everybody is, sitting up and everybody is making a contribution to the necessary changes that needs to happen. And government must listen at this particular material moment. We have run this country at times when certain ministries that have been now fragmented into 2, 3, 4 different pieces had run as one. And these things are possible because they worked efficiently and effectively even during those times. And yes, our constitution and the issue of members of parliament having to be the majority of ministers appointed must certainly come up for conversation. But that's part of the bigger constitutional reform conversation that certainly needs to continue aggressively in our country.
I'm grateful. Thanks for joining us, Samuel Obeng, Executive Director for the Parliamentary Network Africa. Thank you. Negotiations are underway between Ghanaian authorities and the German government on ending child labor in both countries. Many international reports have indicted Ghana's cocoa sector, for instance, as one of the areas making use of children on farmlands, a situation the German government describes as undesirable. Alarmed at the fact that some German companies are off-takers of these cocoa products and other Ghanaian exports, a high-powered delegation is in Accra from Germany to fashion out a workable framework for ending child labor here in Ghana. Listen to German's trade minister and also that of Gender, Children and Social Protection Ministry addressed the press jointly last night.
And we had a very intensive dialogue about how to find a way to fight especially child work. And I think we have to be, everyone has to be responsibility on this, the governments and also the business sector. We talked about the German due diligence law, which is since the 1st of January, a due diligence law for German companies in global supply chains to take care for human rights. And we heard a lot of the initiatives by your government fighting child work, especially on the education sector, to send people, children to school and not on the farms and the companies. This is a process, and we are working together for progress, for decent work, and also for social protection. This is very important in a globalized economy, because a lot of products in Ghana are produced for the European or the German market, especially on the question of cocoa. We talked about a joint initiative between Svenja Schulzen's department, who did a lot of work with the GEZ, German Development Organization, to support better conditions between your government and our partners from the ILO. And I'm very proud that
the ministry, for the past 2-3 years, have been able to prosecute people who have trafficking even their own children. We have couples in jail now, mother and father being jailed because they traffic their own child. So 21 have been prosecuted, and then they are at the different stages of the trial. We actually have done a lot of sensitization to the public, to schools, law enforcement agencies. We have trained immigration officers. We have even trained the crew at the airport. We have trained airport security to look out for those who traffic children. At least there are some signs that if you see somebody, watch out. You see one at the airport, you see suspicion character, then you try to report, and then early intervention can be given. We zoom down to the communities where we educate parents on the need to people who come to them with sweet talks and all those things to give their children to them. They should do a background check and all those things. We have done all that, and we have trained the children themselves, educate them in schools. So if you hear something, say something. If you hear that your colleague is not in school for 2 days, what is happening? You need to raise an alarm, and then we have some designated teachers who will go and find out what is the problem. If maybe the child is given to somebody, you can trace and then get the child back. So with gender, we have done a lot, and we are still doing. And then with social protection, I'm happy to tell you that the government is doing LEAP. That's Livelihood Empowerment Against Poverty, which the government is a cash transfer. The government gives money to 65 and above, and also widows with some number of children that they find difficult to. And the government is being paid. And I'm happy to inform you that we don't have outstanding, we have paid. So 81 and 82 circling. That's what the government has, the Ghana government. So we have done a lot in that regard. And some of the women, even we are doing assessment to win them out of the poverty line, because some of them have graduated. With the money that we give them, they have set up their own businesses. So they can now be on their own. So we are graduating them. We have started the pilot process to do the reassessment and all this. And then here today, the meeting actually, we have to draw the thin line, as he said. What is the thin line between child labor? You know, so as myself and my brother argued that he did some work with his father, that wasn't child labor, that was his own father. We all, especially our brothers here, know that at a point in life, within your family, there's certain jobs that you do, which is your family jobs. that they do. So you assist them in all those things. So we have to sit down and then draw the thin line, what is actually child labor in its context. So we'll start from here. We'll do a joint meetings with the ambassador and his team here, and then get the thin line and get a very good working document for Ghana.
And you are with us here on the Pulse on the JoyNews channel. We'll return with some more stories. Please stay. And you're welcome back. Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Collins Augustine Ntin, has charged beneficiaries of the Ghana Productive Safety Nets project, a program designed to contribute to poverty reduction, job creation, and enhance the socio-economic lives of the less privileged, to make good use of the opportunities provided by the scheme to enable them climb out of the poverty bracket. The minister made this call when he paid a visit to the Seni East District of the Bono East Region to assess the progress of the implementation, as well as identify some challenges associated with the project. And Asabit was there and now reports.
Initiated in the year 2018, the Ghana Productive Safety Net project was instituted to provide tailored support to the poorest households to address the demand-sided constraints to accessing services that will strengthen their productivity. Under the project, rural communities undertake labor-intensive public works, including grant support in income-generating activities. Here in the Seni East District, the project is engaging locals to rehabilitate degraded communal lands through cashew tree plantations. Deputy Minister for Local Government and Rural Development, Collins Ntin, who visited the area to inspect the progress of work, expressed satisfaction with the collaboration between managers of the project and the beneficiaries.
The coordinator and the team from the ministry, we are here this morning to see, at least inspect for the first hand how the vegetation, the plantation is doing together with the other sub-project. But I'm happy to note that here in Kajiti, what I'm observing is good. It's doing so well. And I'm also happy about the enthusiasm of the assembly, the district chief executive and the agri director. It's not in all places that you go and then you be happy in terms of how the farms are being managed. But here in Kajiti, I'm happy.
He was optimistic that the purpose of the project, which mainly seeks to eradicate poverty, will be achieved by the close of the engagements.
When the beneficiaries, out of their own free will, express that sentiment. So it gives us a hope that we are embarking on a very good venture to benefit the people here.
The minister further disclosed that the second phase of the project is in place and will capture new districts to ensure that more households are engaged to enable them move out of the poverty bracket.
Indeed, they are also going to enjoy the Phase 2 Safety Net Phase 2 program, which involves 100 million United States dollars, and then the Honorable Minister has directed that we bring on board additional districts. So instead of 80 districts this time around, additional 20 districts. We're going to have 800 districts. So we are urging them to look for more land so that we'll be able to expand it and bring on board many people.
Some of the beneficiaries lauded government for the project and asked that the project is gradually helping them climb out of the poverty pit, as well as aid them keep their children in school.
The
women in this area used to struggle a lot, but the timely intervention of this project means they now have some financial support to aid them send their children to school. So for me, this has come to help. The project has been very helpful to us to support our children's education. District Chief Executive for the area, GK Kofi Jima, on his part, emphasized that the project has come to reduce the poverty level of the people across the district.
This project, it has come to help the people of Senate East because our poverty level is very high. So much as they are given this amount of money, that will cushion them to be able to pay fees of their wards, buy groundnut or fish or any other thing to sustain their life. This will improve their livelihood. And then it's also encourage the export that the government wants to do. What it means is that it will reduce the poverty level of our people in Senate East.
Anas Sabit, Joy News, KJG.
And the Rental Association of Ghana is raising concerns over the government's recently launched rental assistance scheme. The association warns it may be misleading and advises prospective tenants to be cautious in dealing with the company leading it. Jacqueline and Somaya Boa has more in the following report.
The government's rental assistance scheme was introduced to provide support to tenants who have been adversely affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Vice President Dr. Mohammed Amin, who launched the scheme in Accra, said it had been designed to make rental accommodation more accessible, affordable, and convenient by taking away the unfair burden faced by lower-income households and the youth across the country in respect of multi-year rent advance payments demanded by landlords. But at a news conference, the Rental Association of Ghana said the scheme was perpetrating illegality by legitimizing the unlawful 2-year rent charges by private landlords. Regina Kumson is co-founder of the association.
This, we say, is total confusion. Landlords cannot demand for rent advance of more than 6 months. But we here are all aware of what happens on the ground. Yet, the scheme provides funds for landlords to be paid rent advance for even up to 2 years. And this payment is made as a lump sum and creates room for landlords to break the law.
General Secretary of the National Tenants Union of Ghana, Frederick Opoku, revealed that major stakeholders in the housing sector, like the National Tenants Union of Ghana, the Ghana Association of Real Estate Brokers, and others, were not consulted before the project started.
Some of us have qualms with government where you roll out such a scheme and you have stakeholders from day one. You don't involve them, you package it, go out, and people will speak to it. The processes and what is involved is what matters. Even we are yet to question government about the possibility and why 100 Ghana cedis unrefundable. Assuming government takes 100 Ghana cedis each and take it all along, and assume 200,000 people should apply, then 5,000 is what the first 30 million will be able to support. Ideally, they can't have more than 5,000 people from the start. If you do simple calculations of, let's say, 6,000 Ghana cedis per year by 5,000, it will give you the amount 30 million. If 100,000 people should apply, is the government going to take that money or what? We believe that is another grand style we need to investigate. And government must come properly to tell why we have to take money or 100 cedis per person, whether you are funded or not.
Regina Equia Christian Kumson also implored government to take action on the current state of the Saglemi affordable housing project and demanded a swift resolution so that it can fulfill its original goals.
We bemoan the current status of the Saglemi affordable housing projects, and we call for a speedy resolution to enable its intended purpose of creating affordable housing and further reducing the housing deficits as it was originally intended.
The Rental Housing Association is ready to organize workshops and seminars to continually educate agents on appropriate procedures to secure accommodation for prospective tenants. Jacqueline and Somaya Boa's report for Joy News.
And the Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Dr. Patrick Kumapwanje, has emphasized that cost-effective measures are needed to complement the existing interventions to reverse malaria death trends. 5.7 million malaria cases confirmed in Ghana was in 2021, resulted in some 270 5 deaths, including 1.6 million children under the age of 5, with 125 deaths. Speaking at the national launch of the expansion of the malaria vaccine implementation program in Sunyani, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaji indicated that the vaccines are safe and urged all to ensure that eligible children are vaccinated. Precious Semovo now reports.
Since 2019, Ghana Health Services has made substantial progress towards reducing childhood morbidity and mortality through various activities. These include the pilot introduction of the malaria vaccination program in 2019. Despite the progress made, 5.7 million malaria cases were confirmed in Ghana in 2021, with 275 deaths, including 1.6 million cases of children under age 5, with 125 deaths. Ahead of the Minister of Health, Kwekwajiman Menu's national launch of the expansion of the malaria vaccination implementation program in Sunyani Monday, the Director General of the Ghana Health Services, Dr. Patrick Kumabwaji, said cost-effective measures are needed to complement the existing interventions to reverse the malaria death trends.
Ghana Health Service, working with our partners, are working towards the target of 90% reduction of malaria mortality, malaria deaths, and 50% reduction in malaria cases by 2025 through the mass distribution of long-acting insecticide nets, which we do almost twice a year, indoor residual spraying, the larval source management, and intermittent preventive treatment of pregnant women. We also have seasonal malaria chemoprophylaxis in areas where malaria is very high, and of course case management.
He said on the evidence of the progress and recommendations of their partners, the pilot malaria vaccination program is being expanded to cover more districts to save more lives of children under age 5.
In Ghana, a total of 1,359,199 doses of vaccine have been administered since the rollout in 2019. The service has, together with the Food and Drugs Authority, through its robust pharmacovigilance system, has established that the malaria vaccine is safe, feasible to deliver, and also reduces severe malaria. Following the positive incident evidence generated from the 3 pilot programs and other available evidence, Ghana Malaria Vaccine Implementation Program is being expanded from the current 42 districts to 93 districts in Ahafo, Bono East, Central, Oti, Upper East, and the Volta regions. For the malaria vaccine, 4 doses provide the best protection against malaria when used with other preventive measures. Children get a first dose at 6 months and the final dose at 18 months.
He called for the support of the media and other stakeholders.
The success of the rollout requires our collective effort. It is therefore necessary to provide accurate information from credible sources, including the Ghana Health Service and other health partners. In addition, the country relies on using your media platforms to assist in generating demand for all doses, including the 4th dose given when the child turns 18. Immunization protects children from vaccine-preventable diseases and serves as an opportunity to deliver other life-saving interventions. I call on everyone to support the immunization program.
Precious Semovo, JoyNews, Sunyani.
Well, he merely intended to assist his people gain access to electricity, but he unintentionally put himself in danger. As a result, James Obin, a 35-year-old electrician, climbed a streetlight pole to fix it, but fell and injured his spine. Now, the disabled individual urgently needs to raise some 50,000 Ghana cedis for a total spine reconstruction surgery. Joining us is Justice Awabuafo, paid him a visit and has more in the following report.
Have mercy on me and help me walk again. I am a very generous person. Please help me walk again.
35-year-old James Obin is a professional electrician who volunteered to fix the street light at Dayasau in Central Region where he lives. He climbed up an 8-meter-long electrical pole to fix it, but while descending, his climbing harness belt stripped off and he fell and injured his spine.
couldn't see anything about it. I just collapsed and they took me to hospital. They tried to ask me to raise up my legs and some things, but I couldn't do anything about that. The day I saw myself lying down like this, I couldn't do anything again, and I've been till this time.
According to James' father, Samuel Ebo-Mensah, his outfit is incapable of funding his son's surgery.
We went to the pharmacies and they told us that the cost is from 50 to 60,000. And in fact, that one, as a pensioner, in fact, I can't afford it. Or you be a boy fee papa. The man before to the me no bomb de me. I say me mix now. In fact, they me pee baketchu.
A report issued by the Greater Accra Regional Hospital, RIDGE, Neurosurgery Department stated that James' lower limbs are completely paralyzed. Surgery needs to be conducted as early as possible, as the fractured bones are relentlessly putting pressure on his nerves, causing him to be in constant pain.
I'm having the pain at my back, meaning my spinal and my wrist from this place to this side. It's not working anymore. But for the doctor's assurance, they are saying if I can afford the money that they are going to take from me, they will come bring me back.
James' mother, Ama Bodua, is hopeful that the generous viewers and listeners of Joy News and Joy FM will come through for them.
His father has tried all he can, but all efforts have fallen into futility. I have nowhere else to turn to. We are pleading with everyone to help my son walk again.
Even in agony, James makes very little of his ordeal, as doctors have assured him that there is hope for him to walk again. Jesse Sewabuafu's report, read to you.
And now a joint group of motorcycle operators, spare parts dealers and some driver unions have thronged the office of the former President John Dramani Mahama to declare their support for his candidature in the upcoming flag bearer elections of the NDC. According to the group, the state of the economy needs a leader who has the track record of development and is capable of solving the current economic challenges in the country. They believe John Mahama stands tall and want other candidates to step down and allow him to go unopposed. My colleague Samuel Mbura was there and now reports.
The unions are of the belief that former President John Mahama is the right person to lead the country in times like this. They say he has the track record and they don't believe that President Akufo-Addo will be able to do that. They are citing the prices of fuel, which they say they can no longer buy to run their businesses.
I'm beyond this because of the legalization. Former President John Dramani Mahama tell us that in 2020, when we win the election, he will legalize the Okada. Unfortunately, enough we win. But believe everything by God. But we believe in 2024, your mama should be in president. But we are pleading your mama to come out and pick the form, and we are pleading to all the candidates to step down and live for only your mama.
And we come to plead him, and we are in our knees. So we are pleading him to go for the forms. That's why we brought the petition to him and some little to go for the forms.
Well, precisely, he came out and then he, bring it that he want to legalize Okada. So because he want to legalize Okada, it means that he has seen Okada people to be having their own work done. So when he legalizes Okada, it's going to help the youth. And that is why we have to approach him and ask him that, we have heard that you say you don't want to go again.
We can't buy motor anymore. We can't patronize our businesses anymore like how it have been. A lot of people depend on this motor riding. It's affecting, we cannot take, right now there's a lot of loans that people are taking just because they have to make an estimate of it. And at the end of the day, it's difficult to pay those loans.
The group presented a petition to the office of the former president, cataloging their demands. They have also shown some commitment by mobilizing some funds to support his campaign. Receiving the group on behalf of the former president, the former Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, assured them that the former president will be willing to work with them when he comes into office.
He wanted us to express his appreciation to you for taking the pain to even put yourself together and to put your resources together so that you're coming to encourage him to run for office again. And in addition to encouraging him to run, you also making financial contribution towards his campaign. So he wants us to thank you very much for making such a bold move. Other thing that he wanted us to communicate to you is that whether he's going to agree to run or not, he wants you to understand that his philosophy of governance is about listening to the people. It doesn't necessarily matter about your status in society. President Mahama is never going to be listening to, oh, this is a professor, this is a doctor, this is a graduate. No, we are all Ghanaians. And per our traditional adage, we've been made to believe that no single person is a repository of wisdom. Therefore, if you are leading a group of people, you must always be prepared to listen to the views and opinion of the people you are leading. And that alone, we want to assure you that if by God's grace, which of course, myself and my colleagues, we're all going to pray and fast possibly, so that the man agrees and listens, to the petition that you brought. Now, if that happens, he wants you to know that he's going to govern in consultation with people such as your good self.
The group has further assured that they will go beyond the mobilization of the fans and also rally some of their colleagues behind for the campaign of the former President John Mahama to be successful. Samuel Mbura reporting for JoyNews.
Well, let's take you to the Upper East region. The New Patriotic Party in the Navrongo Central constituency in that part of the country has held unity talks as part of remobilization efforts towards recapturing the parliamentary seat in memory of the late MP for the area, Joseph Kofi Adda, at a ceremony to mark the one-year anniversary since the former MP was laid to rest. Regional and constituency executives of the party eulogized him for the outstanding politician he was and unanimously agreed that they must win back the Navrongo Central parliamentary seat to honor him. Correspondent Albert Sori has more.
Joseph Kofi Adda first became the Member of Parliament for the Navrongo Central constituency in the year 2003 after winning a by-election for the constituency following the death of the then incumbent Member of Parliament, John Achuluwo. He retained the seat for the New Patriotic Party in the 2004 and 2008 parliamentary elections, but lost it to the NDC's Makuyongo in 2012. Adda returned in 2016 to recapture the seat from the NDC. He, however, lost in the parliamentary primaries preceding the 2020 elections to Tangoba Abayage, who subsequently lost the seat to the NDC in the general elections. During his political career, Joseph Kofi Adda was appointed to several ministerial positions, including manpower and employment, energy, and aviation. Joseph Kofi Adda died on October 14, 2021, and was buried on February 12, 2022. A year has now passed since he was laid to rest, and the Navrongo Central constituency of the MPP organized an event to remember the astute politician. The program was organized by Friends of Kofi Adda, a youth group of the MPP in the Navrongo Central constituency. Daniel Kansaki leads the group.
This program, which is about Honor Kofi Adda, who was highly indispensable, who was not stoppable. So whoever you are, once you believe in the cause of development, we want to use the opportunity to call on everybody to come around. Let's ride behind and give Kofi that honor.
The event began with a mass service dedicated to the late Kofi Adda, followed by a wreath-laying ceremony at his grave in his home community of Pungu in Navrongo. The widow of the late former MP, his daughter, and extended family members were present. The widow had this to say at the ceremony.
We have been away for many years, like the children and I, because of work. And it's ironic that just when I took my retirement and came, he died a year after I returned. But God knows best. And your being here is a testimony of how hard he labored and the love he shared for everyone. And the sacrifices the children had to make as a family so that he could reach out to many.
Later, a unity lecture was held in honor of the late Joseph Kofi Adda. In attendance were the Upper East Regional Minister Stephen Yakubu, as well as regional and constituency executives of the party. Regional Chairman Anthony Namon said the Navrongo Central Constituency parliamentary seat has to be recaptured by the MPP in honor of the late former MP.
Kofi Adda was a very honest man and was somebody who sacrificed a lot for the party. He's been in parliament for 14 years, so the party will continue to hold him in high esteem because for now, nobody has matched his record. If you work so hard and sacrifice so much for the party, the least we can do is to make your memory be a shining example for the youth to emulate.
Upper East Regional Minister Stephen Yakubu also eulogized the late Kofi Adda as one of the most successful MPs from this part of the country.
And he's a very senior person in the party. Some of us learned a lot from Kofi. So Kofi is a wonderful person for the party in this region and has done a lot in the development of Navrongo also and the entire Upper East region.
For the rest of the MPP in the Upper East region, this event was the platform to be used to unite the party to recapture the Navrongo Central parliamentary seat in honor of the late Joseph Kofi Adda.
And the purpose for us here is to honor him, and all this honor is towards what? Unification and recapturing of the lost seat. People need to heal. When we don't heal, we can't make peace, and when we don't have peace, we cannot unite. When we don't unite, we cannot recapture the seat.
He's somebody who was really looking for the party and not him himself. The name is synonymous with MPP in the constituency. When we regain the seat, which we will do, he will rise. We will do it.
For JoyNews, Albert Sorry, Navrongo.
Back now to the capital. An investor in the health sector is advocating the inclusion of dialysis cost on the National Health Insurance Scheme to support kidney patients in dealing with the exorbitant cost of treatment. A patient pays at least 4,800 Ghana cedis in a month for dialysis, an amount most patients are unable to afford. Chief Executive Officer of the Akwaba Hospital, Reynolds Champon, says the support for patients has become necessary as most of them are unable to continue with the treatment. Nanaya Ojima has more.
Health experts say kidney-related diseases have increased significantly in the past 10 years. Admissions have increased by 3 times, with some patients reporting with end-stage kidney diseases. The government has announced plans to include kidney diseases in children on the NHIS, though this is yet to be implemented. While entreating the government to expedite action, CEO of Akwaba Hospital, Reynolds Champon, believes a holistic policy is needed.
And if I look at the average income, I'm told it's around 600 Ghana cedis in Ghana per month. That is the average income of a Ghanaian in Ghana. And it's less than that. And the dialysis, the average are charging 500 Ghana cedis. And if your monthly salary is 500, how do you do dialysis? So I will entreat our leaders in government to add dialysis system, if not the 100%, at least a portion where we will start from, so that people can get access, with kidney disease, can get access to dialysis services. And per the information I know, because of the laboratory medicine that we started in 2013, kidney problem is rising in Ghana. And I believe I want to entreat everybody to get a proper education.
In support of quality healthcare delivery, Akwaba Hospital has been inaugurated to serve the health needs of the Kwadaso municipality. Presently, 85% of health facilities in the municipality are privately owned. Municipal Health Director Grace Billy Kampiti says through effective partnership with the private facilities, a mass health screening exercise is being implemented in the municipality.
We noticed that hypertension is on the increase, diabetes among the populace. And so as a matter of policy, the health sector is beefing up on our screening for NCDs. The Regional Director of Health Service is very passionate about it. And so our activities are centered towards screening, home visits. We have set up wellness clinics in most of our major health facilities.
For JoyNews, Nana Ojima, Kumasi.
And that's all we have for you here on The Pulse. I am Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com. Lots of stories there for you to catch up with. We'll see you again. Bye for now.